Thank you. That was so good. You guys are amazing. Thank you. Well, good morning again, everybody. It's so good to see you. So good to see you. So, how'd you guys have it? Do you have a good Thanksgiving, everyone, or good enough? Good enough. Well, I went to Los Angeles and had Thanksgiving with my sister and her boyfriend, and we hadn't had Thanksgiving together since COVID, like since 2020 2020. So it was really, really fun and special for me. I did visit her this summer, though, and they got this cute little dog, a cute little Yorkie, but he was a little rough around the edges. And when I was there with him in the summer, he was like biting me and growling at me quite a lot. He sort of softened to me after a little bit, but we weren't on that great of terms. So I was a little nervous. When I went down to visit. So I got into the house. He barked at me just once, and then he was angel dog. He was so sweet and kind, and I was so excited because he sat on the bed with me and he was playing with me until one thing I did. I was walking out of my bedroom and I peeked into my sister's bedroom to say, hey, I'm up, blah, blah, blah. And the dog came up and started attacking me. So I saw the devil dog again, and it was kind of, my poor sister was like, oh my God, Dale, I'm sorry. He didn't hurt me. It was okay. But he was, it's kind of weird when you have a dog just kind of barking at you and attacking you in your own home that you grew up in as a kid. Anyways, it worked out. He calmed down, and the rest of the visit was really great, and he was the angel dog. And so I thought that was just so funny how a dog can be an angel and a devil. I mean, I guess we all kind of have that inside of ourselves, don't we? Anyways, so do you believe it's December? It's like, for me, when December hits, it's like this light turns on that says, okay, the holidays are here, get ready, got to start doing this and that. And the two holidays I think that's just most celebrated in our society and our world here, at least in America, it's Hanukkah and Christmas. And what I love about the common theme of Hanukkah and Christmas is light, because each religion celebrates light in a little bit of a different way. With Hanukkah, you're celebrating this miracle of light. There was a war, the temple was a shambles, and then this light, though, that was only supposed to burn for a night, burned for 8 nights. And the Jewish people attribute that to spirit, right? The Jewish people had the faith of spirit, and it delivered. And for Christmas, we learn about the light of God again, or the light of spirit in the person of Jesus, right? We learn about this light that is actually who all of us are, is that light, and it is within us, and it is one energy that we all are a part of. And I love that about Christmas because it wakes us up. And what I see about this whole time, this whole season, it's a time to wake up from spiritual darkness and into the light of Spirit's eternal presence and our oneness with it. To me, it's as simple as that. And you all probably know that these holidays came to be because of, in the northern hemisphere, it's dark for a lot of, we have more dark in the day than light. And so these holidays kind of perk us up to see and celebrate light. But there's this thing about spiritual darkness that I think a lot of people have. And Dr. Laura and I were talking last week about how people are, in more and more numbers, are getting really, really turned off by religion because their spirits aren't getting fed. That's as easy it is. Their spirit is not getting fed. And that's why I love what we do here, because we're not about rules and regulations. We don't require you to do certain things to connect with spirit. It's about finding it on your own, finding that wholeness and that light within yourself so you don't have to be in darkness anymore. So I have a lot of quotes today, bear with me, they all are relevant. And I'm quoting a lot of Paramahansa Yogananda, who I know a lot of you, you know who he is. So this first quote I just think is marvelous. He says, God made us angels of energy, encased in solids, currents of life, dazzling through a material bulb of flesh. Isn't that a cool way to say who we are, right? But through concentration on the frailties and fragility of the body bulb, right? Concentrating too much on the physical, on the bodies are wonderful, but they're not everything, because we're more than that. And so he says, because we concentrate on this, we've forgotten how to feel the immortal, indestructible properties of the eternal life energy within the mutable flesh. And I think this is what Christmas is all about. We have forgotten that we are beyond the material, that there is a beautiful energy of light that we all are. And that's why my talk title is called Ignite Your Light. Because I know a lot of us feel like our light is really dim, maybe even feel like it's going out. And so I thought, for the first Sunday in December, let's ignite our light. And so I'm going to be showing you all about you and your light. The inner light actually comes from the soul. Isn't that cool? It is already inside of us, so it's there all the time, whether you recognize it or not. The moment we can have free access to our soul, and we always have free access to it, it's just we don't believe it, we don't see it, or we don't recognize it, or we've never experienced it. But as soon as we can have that free access, we will see that this light is coming to the fore to permeate our whole outer existence. So what I know about igniting our inner light, it doesn't just light us up. It lights everything around us, everybody. Because when you're in that state of feeling the light, it shines. Whether you can see it with your eyes or not, it's an energy that is felt by people. So we talked a little bit about the Tao today. And the Tao is all about different energies coming together, dark and light, man and woman. They call it yin and yang. But the idea is that all of these, what appears to be opposites, are really just one and the same thing. The symbol here shows that the dark is in the light and the light is in the dark. So our job is really to get balanced with it all because, life has its light moments and it has its dark moments. So our job is to stand in the middle, And even though we might get pushed into the dark, we know that the light is right there. We just got to try and find it again. So Abraham Hicks, I love this. Any Abraham Hicks fans out there? Oh yeah, right? When I heard this this concept that she teaches or they teach, whatever they are, it really made sense to me that she says, or I'm sorry, I'm not saying it right. They say, I'll put it that way. They say because she channels a collective. They say we are here to experience contrast. And when I first heard that, it's like, oh my God, a light went on because it makes sense. Because we're in this world and there's so many different experiences for us, right? There's some that are joyful and wonderful. There are some that are not. There are some that are frustrating. There are some that are comical. There's just so much experience here. And when she says that this is about contrast, I can get around that. That makes this more understandable to me. It makes a little more sense to see if we're all spirits and we make a choice to come here, perhaps it's because we want to experience all of these different things. It kind of makes sense. Does it make sense to any of you? Yeah? Yeah. So who's heard of the dark night of the soul in this room? Anybody? Yeah. Anybody had one? 2, 3, 4, 5, 7? I really like the concept of the dark night of the soul, and yeah, I've had my share of those, as all of you have. But you might not know this. Dr. Laura is the irreverent reverend. I'm irreverent in other ways. You just don't see them, and I'm going to show my irreverence to you right now. So the dark night of the soul came about by, I think, St. John of the Cross in the 1500s. So it was like 500 years ago. And I would think about this dark night of the soul thing, and I go, I think he's got it wrong. It isn't a dark night of the soul. That cannot be right. See, I'm getting irreverent here. I always question when I'm taught something, it's like, let's think that over. We all should. We should all think things over. So I thought, you know what it is? It's a dark night of the mind. It's the mind, not the soul. The soul is always light. It's not going dark. The mind is. Because the mind is not seeing something clearly. The mind is seeing through pain or agony or anger. It's not seeing through the light of spirit. That's all. It's the mind. And so really, it's not about our souls needing to be healed at all when we have a quote-unquote dark night of the soul. It's about our mind and our thinking. Inside, we are all golden Buddhas, but we grew up to believe we were made of clay. Isn't that the truth? We have all learned to see ourselves and to think about ourselves as less than this divine energy that we all are. Our ego's false perceptions led us to grow into a belief system that covered our inner light, right? We believe that we can only do so much. We believe that we're just mortal. We believe we're just human. And we're covering up all that divine light when we think that way. And that's how most of us have been brought up, conditioned. But that's not the truth. So it's led us to have these belief systems that covered up our inner light. We've spent years, maybe decades, masking our truth. And that's what I love about this place. We unmask that truth so that you can see it. So now it's time to embrace our light and reconnect with our golden Buddha within. Doesn't that feel good? Doesn't that feel good? There is a golden light within all of us. And this is the time to realize that our minds are what have been covering it up. That's what to clean up. Ernest Holmes says the imperfect has been added by the human mind, because we do teach that we are perfect at the soul level. Nothing needs to be fixed. Nothing needs to be changed. We are absolute perfection because we are this divine pattern. But the imperfect, that you're not enough, you've made too many mistakes, that's covered all this stuff up. That what the human mind has put there, though, it can take away. That is the good news. That's what we teach here. I always say this. When I came to this place, I didn't think my mind could change. I was absolutely convinced it was set in stone. But people like Dr. Tom and Dr. Laura and Reverend Joe, Dr. Joe, they told me that is not the truth. You can change your mind. And I did. And all that stuff I was thinking about myself was unmasked so my divine light can come through. And so Ernest says what the divine has implanted cannot be uprooted. And we are all that divine, and it cannot be uprooted. It's the mind that fools you into thinking it can. And it can only appear to be covered up, so bear that in your heart and know that it's just an illusion. Okay, so I got to bring Dr. Tom out. So I know Reverend William talks about this a lot. I thought I would actually put the quote up. This is Dr. Tom. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will not build a condo there. That is like one of his most brilliant, right? We all walk through that. Yeah, we all walk through that valley at some time in our lives, right? But we got to ask the question, did I build a condo or am I passing through? Because, I don't want to spiritual bypass anybody. I know stuff happens in life that hurts, that's hard to get through. I get it. I've been there. I know. But we've got to always remember we are just walking through. As Dr. Tom says, you don't want to build a condo there. You want to move through it. You want to move through it because that is not your home. Trouble and disease have a lesson for us because those are some of the things that really break us apart. Our painful experiences are not meant to destroy us, but to burn out our dross, to hurry us back home. And I think the dross is all of that stuff that weighs on us when we go through a darkness that keeps us there, that keeps us impinged. False ideas that say you're never going to feel good again, or you'll never get over it. Those are some of those beliefs that keep us in that valley of the shadow of death and the darkness. But we have to use our minds and our hearts, of course, our minds and our hearts together to burn all of that old energy up and find the divine truth of who we are. That this stuff is just an experience, and we've got to burn off all of that energy to hurry us back home. Home is capitalized. It's your divine home, who you are, beyond the world of experiences that you've had. Leonard Cohen says there's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. And I know, right? Sometimes that crack we can't see the crack, especially in an intense sorrow. There is no crack. I will give you a hint. Gratitude is a great way to create a crack. Because if we're in a state where we are just so down and nothing is getting inside, none of the light, we just can't get there, you say one gratitude and your heart's going to lift open, and that's your crack. That's your crack. That's your crack to see, oh my, there is light. There is light. I see it coming through. And then you can start your return back home. Each of us responds to life based on our ideas and beliefs, right? It's us that's interpreting all of this stuff that we're living in. And because we're consumed by the personalized illusion on the screen we call life, right? We get so involved. It's like being in a movie. This is kind of like a movie. And how involved and attached we get to this, how engrossed we get in this, determines how we're going to be able to let go a little bit and walk through these experiences a little lighter instead of identifying with them so intensely. Because when we get consumed with this, we forget that we originate from the same light and the same consciousness, because as we teach here, we are all one. We are all the light. Nothing separates us except what our mind falsely tells us. And boy, we've got a lot of that going on. We've had a lot of that going on in our world. And it's time for us to realize that we come from the same source of energy, and that is spirit, same consciousness. We become conscious of darkness only when we are without faith. For faith is ever the light of our day and the light of our way, making the way clearly visible to us. You know, I stand up here, somebody who was once a non-believer of God at all. I've told you that. I had my atheist period. But I will tell you and encourage you, you got to believe in something. You got to believe in something. It doesn't need to be called God. It doesn't need to be called spirit. It can be called just life. It can be called energy. It can be called the divine order of the universe. It can be called the universe, whatever. Whatever that something bigger that is intelligent, that moves everything that is within all life, whatever you call that, recognize it. Because I'm telling you, faith is what gets us through the darker times. And as Ernest is pointing out here, really consciousness of darkness is really not seeing the light or the faith. So that even if we're having a troubled time, if we go to our faith, it's an instant light turning on. Something turns on where we can just kind of relax and feel the support of something bigger, something life-affirming, something that is pulling us through that valley of the shadow of death and to the other side. And I know it's not easy sometimes to get to that faith, but just set an intention, open yourself up to the possibility, but know that it's your own call, it's your own name that you give this energy. We don't tell you to call it God. We don't tell you to call it spirit. Call it whatever it means to you. I remember a CSL minister decades ago when I was at Asilomar. She calls her idea of God Big Daddy. See, there's something for everybody. You can call it Big Mama or whatever. Just something that gives you that faith. You want to activate that faith because that leads things forward. It opens up doors for us. It's a healing energy. If one will have faith in himself, faith in his fellow man, in the universe and in God, that faith will light the place in which he finds himself. And by the light of this faith, he will be able to see that all is good. And I know there's a lot of people that don't resonate with all is good, everything's unfolding perfectly. I get it. But we're not looking through a higher vision when we think that things aren't unfolding rightly. We want things to look a certain way. We think they're supposed to look like that for the best good to come out. But I'm sorry, that's not how it goes. Unfortunately, we do not know what is best. Spirit does. And so when we have a little more faith in ourselves, in our friends, in people, in the universe, when we can stick our energy and just make that grounded state of really being rooted in understanding and trusting, I may not know how this unfolds, but I know that there is a power that knows exactly how to bring forth a greater good for everybody to be peaceful and harmonious while taking care of all that good stuff. But it does rest on faith. There is no amount of darkness that can extinguish the inner light. Isn't that good news? Just when you thought it could be extinguished, no, it cannot. The important thing is not to spend our lives trying to control the environment around us, just what I was speaking to. We so want to do it out here, and I know it's tempting. I try to all the time. I think that it has to change out here, but we got to stop doing that. We've got to control this environment, the inner environment. Yeah, and sometimes that's a tall order, but that's where the work is. We got to find our faith. We got to deal with fear because that fear, man, that's just going to cloud everything up. And it is not the truth about who we are. It is a survival instinct. It is not our resting state of being. Our resting state of being is love, peace, joy, harmony, light. When we can pull ourselves into that place, our inner light is shining really bright. The only thing that will help to eliminate world suffering, by the way, more than money, houses, or any material aid. Is that not mind-blowing? When I read this, I thought, boy, this Paramahansa Yogananda's onto something. Because don't we always think it's all about getting money to the right place, or houses, or giving food, which is great stuff. Please, don't get me wrong. I continue to do that. I encourage you to do that as well. But there's something more that we need to do, and that's to meditate and transmit to everybody. Nobody's outside of that. Everybody. The divine consciousness of God or spirit or love or life, whatever you call it, we got to transmit that to everybody. I think if everybody did that 5 minutes a day, maybe twice a day, the whole world, I think we'd see some really amazing changes in our world. But it does start with us and our energy and putting it out there. That's how we get rid of suffering, or at least start to diminish it. The only way to escape this nightmare is by becoming more attached to God and less attached to the dream images of this world. This is what I've been saying since the beginning of this talk. And this is a spiritual center, and this is what we're going to teach you. You got to be attached to spirit and the love and the light and the energy that you are, rather than all of this circumstance that we find ourselves in, our past, the things that happen to us, the things that are happening. To get more attached to spirit within, to your light, that is where to place our energy and our strength. I have seen so many people make that shift, where they're saying, you know what, material doesn't do it for me anymore. Not that we want to become monks, but we don't. But what's nice, what I see people evolving into, is they like their stuff, but they're not so attached to it, because they're attaching to something bigger that is spirit. And that's how the darkness lives. Each one of you has a priceless treasure. There is light emanating from your eyes, which illuminates mountains, rivers, and the great earth. Do you believe this? Do you believe how powerful you are? Do you believe how light-emitting you are? We are all lights. It's time to claim it. Our true awakening is that nothing is wrong with us. I love this quote, right? I talked about this as an awakening this month. These holidays are a time to awaken to our spiritual wholeness, to our oneness as spirit. If we really woke up to that, we'd be waking up to this too, that there's nothing wrong with us. We would see who we are, truly who we are, and that's something so important to wake up to. If we all loved ourselves, boy, it would be an amazing world. But it starts with us to awaken that there is nothing wrong with us at all, at all. Love yourself, have compassion, and while you're there, have compassion for others as well. So this is my early Christmas gift for you. This is, and I know people are saying, oh, did you print it and put it in the lobby? I did not. If you want it, we can get it to you. This is an affirmation for you to say during this holiday season. I am light itself. Say it with me. I am light itself. Darkness was never meant for me. It can never cover the light of my soul. Say this a lot. Say this a lot, especially if you're going through a dark time. Say this. You don't need to say it and make something happen. Just say it. You will change your energy. So it's time to ignite our light. That's what Christmas, that's what Hanukkah is all about. That's what this time of year is all about. Because the changes that we want to see in our world, the changes that we want to see in people, in their connections with each other, in their communications with each other, it starts with us igniting our light. So if you haven't seen your light in a while, beckon it forward. Ask it to come forward, because once you open that door to it, it is not going back. Thank you for listening to me. Have a great, great day. Thank you.